Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well. Steve here for Geek Boulevard. It's movie review time. I've officially seen Nobody 2, and I'm here to give you the skinny on what I thought of the film. The good, the bad, and my final score. Nobody 2 is directed by Timo Tjahjanto. It is rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 29 minutes. Workaholic assassin Hutch Mansell takes his family on a much needed vacation to the small tourist town of Plummerville. However, he soon finds himself in the crosshairs of a corrupt theme park operator, a shady sheriff, and a bloodthirsty crime boss. As always, I'm going to start with the good. I think in terms of pacing, the film is really paced out really well, and we don't really waste a lot of time with Hutch this time around because, the first film we had to establish who he was as a character, so that movie was just a little bit longer in that regard. But with this, once the movie starts, it just goes, and the action doesn't really let up all that much. Yeah, there are some quieter moments with Hutch and his family and everything, but I think in terms of just the pacing of the movie, it didn't really feel like I was bored or anything. So I think if you liked how, the first movie was paced out, even though that was slightly longer, it's still a quick movie. It does move at a brisk pace. This one moves at an even quicker pace. So I personally liked it for that. And Bob Odenkirk, he really just has a lot of fun with this character and the script. And because Odenkirk is more of a comedic performer, it does kind of show those humorous moments a little bit more in this film when it comes to the action set pieces. But it's not overdone to where that humor overshadows what was great about those sequences. It actually, in a way, complements those sequences kind of well. Speaking of the action, it's definitely bigger when it comes to that. The budget was obviously increased for the sequel, so you do see that, the fights are with a lot more guys this time around. Hutch still gets his ass beat in the process, but there's more flair to those moments. And I think the final sequence at the fairgrounds was easily the best part of the movie for me. It's very reminiscent of the final sequence with the shootout in the office building in the first film, but this is just in a much more open area. There's more guys for them to kill, there's more explosions. It's just on a much bigger scale. So I think in terms of how that sequence was choreographed, how it was shot, and just kind of laid out, the budget really shows for that, and I think the budget was smartly used for that sequence. I also did enjoy the little teases that the film kind of leaves open for a sequel should this one be successful enough, and I think it will be. There's potential avenues that this franchise can go down, we could get a spin-off with RZA's character, we could maybe get a prequel with Hutch's father. We could also see a future sequel where the son falls into his father's line of work, and there's definitely a tease of Connie Nielsen's character Becca having a bit of a mysterious past because she knows her way around a gun, it seems. So perhaps, that can be explored in flashbacks in a Nobody 3 should it get made. As for the villain Landina, played by Sharon Stone, I enjoyed her performance. She's evil for the sake of just being evil, and there's not much depth to her as a character, but you don't really go to these movies to admire the villains in that regard. She's solely a foil for Hutch to deal with, and I think Sharon Stone, she clearly was having a lot of fun playing this character, so it was cool to see her just kind of really be evil here, and I think she met those requirements for the story, so I enjoyed her performance overall. Now that we've gotten the good out of the way, let's talk about the bad. As I said before, this sequel has a larger budget, and when studios give sequels a bigger budget, that usually means you gotta go bigger. Now, does going bigger always mean better? Mostly no, but me personally, I would say it depends on the movie. For this specific film, I think largely it doesn't really make the film any better for me. It's still a fun movie, but watching this made me miss the lower stakes and the constrained sort of simplicity of the first film, because obviously it was a much smaller budget, it was more of a creative risk, and it largely told a one-off story. It was a film that didn't really scream, yes, make a sequel. Was I happy to get one? Sure. But if Nobody was just a one and done film, I would have just been satisfied with that. The bus sequence, for example, in the first film was just so good in terms of the choreography and how gritty and real it felt. And the sequel just makes these types of moments more flashy and just bigger for the sake of it. There is something similar to the bus sequence in Nobody 2, but I just didn't really enjoy it as much as I was hoping. And the story plays out literally exactly like the first movie. If you've seen the first movie, and if not, I highly recommend that you do. It's amazing. The story beats that occur here are very much identical, if not the exact same, to the original, so the sequel doesn't really say anything new or justify its existence in any way. In conclusion, I'm going to give Nobody 2 a score of 3 out of 5. It's a sequel that doesn't really say anything new and goes bigger for the sake of bigger, but overall it's still a fun, kick-ass time at the theater. The final sequence at the fairgrounds was a huge highlight, and Bob Odenkirk still kicks ass and takes a punch just as well. I remember how surprised I was with the first movie when I saw it. I assumed it was going to be just like a John Wick knockoff, and I was largely wrong on that. I'm sure you can probably compare and contrast the two in some ways, but it was really a refreshing story about a man with skeletons in his closet that just wants to do right by his family. But, you know, that dark nature calls to him again and again, and it's kind of hard to resist what's in your nature. And I think the sequel does kind of explore that a little bit, but I just really preferred how it was explored in the first film. But what did you guys think of Nobody 2? Have you seen it yet? And how would you rate it compared to the first film? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. And don't forget that if you enjoyed this video, to hit that like button, subscribe to Geek Boulevard, and tick that notification bell so you can always be notified when new reviews or reactions drop on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to stay classy, stay geeky, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Told you. I'm on fucking vacation!